Ladies and gentlemen, hey hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. As we all know by now, gameplay this year is, well, a little slower than what we've seen in years past. Obviously, we had the jetpack era where things were all over the place, then World War II slowed things down a bit, BO4 kept things feeling fresh with a faster boots on the ground style, and then this year, it's not necessarily the movement that feels slow, but the pace of the game is definitely more relaxed overall. However, in my opinion, that feeling of rushing around and slaying out and just going all in is really incredibly fun. That non-stop rushing playstyle is what I think really highlights what all this game has to offer, and so today we're going to be breaking down the top 5 setups for rushing as of right now, that don't necessarily play right into the meta as it stands. Little side note though, if you guys are new here, I am always covering the latest Call of Duty news and intel, best classes, and all things of that nature. So feel free to subscribe if you want to stay up to date with all of that stuff. And of course, if you enjoyed the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. Now, just a heads up, I will be going over the secondary, perks, and equipment once towards the end of the video, because I do use these same stuff there on every single one of my classes. So we'll just touch on that once towards the end. Anyways, getting right into the first setup for today, this one is all about the brand new Grau 5.56. Now, some of you might be saying, well, Zach, the Grau is an assault rifle, it's not necessarily the fastest one we have either, so how exactly is this a top setup for rushing? And really, the answer is simple. This thing can be kitted to be surprisingly effective in CQC engagements. Now, if you've leveled up your battle pass enough, you might have already unlocked the Shadow Sight blueprint for the Grau, and if you've paid any attention to it whatsoever, you'll know it looks and feels nothing like the regular Grau does. Typically, I'd be using the Commando foregrip and the Nexus barrel, and the weapon itself would look and feel like a really decent assault rifle. But on this class, aside from the ammo type, everything about it screams SMG. It's small, it's compact, it's fast, and it is by all means perfect for rushing around from the start of the match all the way until the end. So as far as my attachments go, my first choice is going to be the compensator, as this is going to help with the recoil control. And when you take a rifle and convert it into this SMG type of build, it is going to suffer a bit in that control department, so recoil management is going to be a key factor in this class. Then I've got the ZLR Drifter A08 barrel, and this ends up helping with the aim down sight speed, the movement speed in general, and also the recoil control as well. So you kind of get a little bit of everything out of that one, which you don't really see all that often. I then also use the tack laser to help with the mobility and the stability, the no stock option to increase the mobility of the weapon even more, and finally the F-Tac R89 rubber grip, which also helps control the recoil a bit more on top of everything else. Now, upon using this setup, right away you'll notice this really does make the Grau a whole lot faster. The aim down sight speed is better, the overall movement speed is better, everything you could really want in a rushing setup, this class offers. However, I will say the place where it does end up suffering though is going to be the range. You won't be getting long shots while using this class like you would some of the other Grau setups that we've featured on the channel previously, but the way I look at it is, if I'm going to be rushing around, I'm probably going to be playing on some smaller maps, like say Shoot House, Rust, Hackney Yard, maybe even some shipments here and there, and the likelihood of running into really long range fights on those maps is pretty slim, just being honest. The majority of the gunfights I will be getting into are close or medium range for the most part, and that is where this weapon is going to excel the most. So that said, I would highly recommend trying out this class for the Grau. Anyways, moving on, the next setup we're going to be focusing on is built around the Bizon, which to this day is still my favorite weapon to use in game. I get that question a lot, Zach, what is your absolute favorite weapon to use? And 10 times out of 10, I'm going to say the Bizon. This is the ultimate rushing weapon in my mind, as it's lightweight, it's agile, it has a massive magazine, and in general, you can push spawns and just turn it up into the overdrive setting while using this thing. I consider it to be the perfect weapon for shipment with how well you can utilize that larger magazine and those rather inconvenient spawns. And seriously, this thing is a ton of fun to use. So for my setup here, I am rocking the compensator once more to help with the recoil control, which is actually going to make the Bizon viable at some longer distances, believe it or not. So yeah, there's that. I also use the steel barrel to increase the range, control, and bullet velocity, the tack laser again for the same reasons as before, the no stock option for better mobility, and finally the stippled grip tape to really max out the speed of the Bizon and make it as strong as possible for rushing around. Now, like I said, when it comes to CQC, this is where the Bizon absolutely dominates everything. You know, it can hang with the MP5 and even the other dominant SMGs, and just about the only thing you will find yourself struggling against is going to be a shoddy. But even then, catch that player off guard and you are going to have yourself some pretty easy kills. Now, speaking of shotguns, I did actually want to feature a shoddy class in this video, because what better weapon to use in CQC fights than those that are specifically built for those types of engagements. So here we are going to be focusing on the R9O, which is honestly a very unique and very fun shoddy to use. It is semi-automatic, except you actually have to pump it after every 2 shots. So it is a little awkward to use it first, but after you do get used to it, you can master it and then you're going to find a ton of success while using it. So the first attachment I've got on this class is going to be the muzzle choke to increase the range and also to tighten the spread. Then I've got the forged tack sentry barrel, which actually just got buffed a bit, and this will also increase the range and the spread as well. I then use the 5mW laser for a better sprint to fire speed, and of course the laser itself is going to help with hip fire accuracy too. And that's followed by the Merc foregrip to help in situations where I do need to aim down sights. And finally, I've got the stippled grip tape yet again, mainly because of that increase to the sprint to fire speed. Now, the R9O actually has some really surprising range. You know, you can get some decent shots off with this thing even in some medium range fights. Obviously, long range, any shotgun is going to be pretty obsolete, so it won't be of too much use there. And of course, close range, this thing completely dominates, and it is going to be a 1 to 2 hit kill 99.9% of the time there. Then, getting into the next class, this time we are using the AUG SMG, which I've really gone back and forth a lot with so far this year. One day, I'll feel like the AUG is just an absolute beast, the next, I'm just not feeling it. But I did actually try something different on this setup, and I'll mention that here in just a moment. But my first attachment for this one is going to be the extended barrel, as this increases the range, control, and bullet velocity. Then I have the tack laser for the same reasons as before, the forged tack CQB comb stock for a better ADS speed, the Merc foregrip, which is really the #1 grip to use on all SMGs for that matter, and finally the grip tape that is stippled because, I mean, you're just doing it wrong if you're not using it. Now, usually on the AUG, I would be running the 5.56 NATO rounds to convert it into an assault rifle. But frankly, for a rushing setup, close range, the standard ammo is going to be just fine for taking out enemies. And the standard ammo is actually even pretty effective in ranges outside of CQC. So for this one, I just felt it wasn't really worth it to do that ammo conversion. Now, the final class we've got for today is focused on the MP7, which I think oftentimes does get overlooked for the MP5, but the efficiency the MP7 brings to the table in literally every single kind of engagement is just something you can't really pass up. So here I've got the FSS Recon barrel for better range, control, and bullet velocity again. The 5mW laser as the sprint to fire speed increase is certainly beneficial in my mind. The no stock option for the same reasons as before, and also the Merc foregrip and everyone's favorite grip tape as well. And once again, same reasons apply there. Now, the fire rate of the MP7 is going to make it great for those close range fights. The stability is going to make it great for medium and long range fights, and so is the minimal recoil and pretty straightforward pattern you can learn very quickly. So all around, this is a very easy class to use that offers a sort of low risk, high reward kind of scenario. Now, as mentioned, my secondary, perks, and equipment do remain the same on every single one of my classes. So currently I am rocking the Magnum with the long barrel, the 5mW laser, the lightweight trigger, the snake shot, and also the akimbo perk. If you've seen any of my previous setup videos, you've probably already seen this class. It is definitely the best pistol setup in my mind as of right now, so that's what I'm using most of the time. And then, per usual, I am also running EOD, restock, and shrapnel for my perks, and then the C4 and stim for my equipment, giving me a very solid class all around when it comes down to it. So, with all of that being said, those are the best Russian classes to use here in Modern Warfare, at least as of right now, and that is going to wrap things up for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, or if you just found it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here, and you want to stay up to date with the latest Call of Duty news and intel, updates and leaks, and pretty much everything else in between, feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when I post a new video. As always, if you want to check out any of my partners, be sure to use code IMMORTAL on all Scuff, G Fuel, Control Freak, and Respawn products. All of those links can be found down in the description below, and once again, thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.